So I'm Angela Hughes, I'm the Assistant Director of Patient Experience at Cardiff and Vale Health Board, and what I hope to share with you this afternoon is to really talk about how our whole patient experience team, so that's complaints, claims, feedback, volunteers, bereavement, chaplaincy, carers, all actually work together to make sure that we are always trying to improve the patient experience, and we actually look at all of the feedback that we receive. We really think that the value in feedback is always looking at the jigsaw of all the different elements of feedback. So looking at our retrospective, our proactive, our balancing, and actually look at everything and try to work out how we can actually improve things for our patients. And hopefully what you will get from this presentation, which I have to say was done pre-COVID, so it probably would change a little bit now, but hopefully it will give you a flavour of some of the work that the team actually does. Could I have the next slide, please? So to just give you a little bit of background, Cardiff and Vale actually serves a population of around 472,000 people. We have 14,500 staff. We provide a range of specialist services. So it's quite a big organisation, and we have several hospital sites within that organisation as well. We actually have over 700 volunteers. We have a huge age range of volunteers. If we could go on to our next slide, please. One of the things that we did as an organisation and as a team was to really look at how we branded everything that patient experience actually does. So we developed a 3-year framework. We'll actually have a meeting this week actually to look at our next 5-year framework and make sure that everything that we do as a team is about taking our strategy forward. So looking at care closer to home, really involving patients in the care that they receive, making sure we use our feedback for service improvement, but really branding all of the work of patient experience. Could I have my next slide, please? So these are some of our stories, I suppose, from patient experience. So up in the top left-hand corner, you have one of our volunteers. So one of our 700 volunteers. This young gentleman is Ethan. Ethan is actually deaf, and he works with another one of our volunteers, and they've got a fantastic relationship. And becoming a volunteer for Ethan really developed his confidence to the extent that he now has a job working in one of the shops in the hospital. And Ethan actually won a Help Force Award for his work that he's done with volunteering. And I think what's fantastic is that the feedback he gets from his smile really makes a difference to the patients. And I think the intergenerational relationship between him and another one of our volunteers is actually incredible. You'll see some cards there, and you're probably wondering why have we put a photograph of cards. The reason is we have 250 pharmacy volunteers who work with us, and on one of the wards, one of the students was a little bit worried that some of the patients weren't going to get Christmas cards, so he actually wrote Christmas cards for the patients on the ward. And I think it's these lovely acts of kindness that we know we are developing our young pharmacists who are really part of our strategy for care in the community as we go forward, with fantastic social skills and really making a difference in how to communicate with people. So having those conversations about what matters to me and really trying to embed them in training from a very early stage, I think is so important. The ladies that you'll see in the middle, they actually have a chatter group. We also have a knit and natter group. I can do chatter, I'm not very good at the knitting side of it, but they do some wonderful things. It's a wonderful group where people actually from the community come in and actually join the chatter groups and the knit and natter groups. In COVID times, we've had to actually make that more virtual. So I think lots of these things have changed, and I think next year we'll be seeing some very different presentations. You also have a picture there of some of the artwork and the different things that are developed, and often we take, requests from people, what do they actually want us to make? So there was a lovely knitted nativity scene that was done last Christmas. So, some amazing things that are actually done by all of the team. Could I have the next slide, please? So there you've got a photograph up in the left-hand corner of one of our sanctuary, we call it, in one of our hospital sites. So it's our places of worship, which we have in all of our different hospital sites. And this was some Christmas movies. So we were very aware that people always can't leave hospital at Christmas time, but actually people wanted to actually come and actually look at some Christmas films and, you know, just spend a bit of time trying to do something that's a bit more normal and not just being in the hospital environment. And I think we really find that coming into the sanctuaries is a really great place for people to actually come. So the movies have worked really well. You've also got Valentine's things there, some knitted hearts and chocolates. When it was Valentine's Day, we put on some nice romantic movies for people to actually come and see. We found that the volunteers running the movies, so we've got the cinema screens, we've got movies, they go down really, really well on lots of different areas. And I think just brings some normality for patients sometimes into difficult times. Could we have the next slide, please? So again, we have here in the corner some arts and crafts. We work very closely with our third sector organisations as well, and we're very lucky to have their support and our volunteers as well. And you know, doing arts and crafts, it just makes a big difference to people. It's something to do in their day, and they get up, they get dressed, and they actually come along to the arts and crafts lessons, which are really good. You will then see there we have a blessing, and we've had the agreement from the lovely young couples to actually share this photograph with you. But very sadly, the groom's father couldn't actually be at the wedding because he was terminally unwell. So it was agreed that a blessing would be undertaken in our sanctuary area for them. And this was so well received. It meant so much to the family to be able to do that and to really make them, to enable him to be part of such a special day, really. And that's the sort of thing I think that the chaplains, you know, do quite regularly, and things like this actually happen. Could I have the next slide, please? So those of you that might remember from last year, one of the things that we talked about at PENNA last year was one of our public meetings where we'd gone out to our deaf community. And I told you about Ethan's story earlier. And I think one of the things about going out into the communities and talking to people is that you actually get people to actually engage and really tell you what the issues are that you need to help them with. And I think one of the things that we found was that lots of people couldn't actually communicate in BSL. So we've actually trained over 500 staff in BSL. I think like the previous presentation, we would say because of COVID, we've actually had to suspend some of the sessions going forward because we see very much that this is part of the work we have to do over several years. And we were actually the first health board to sign all 5 pledges in the BSL Charter. And that's our Executive Director of Nursing and our former chair and 2 members of the deaf community actually signing the charter. The other thing that we did, we found that when we looked at our concerns, we didn't make it easy for people who are deaf to actually raise concerns. So one of the first things we did was made sure that we had a phone in our concerns department, which was linked through sign video. So people could actually, if they were deaf, they could actually contact us the same as anybody that was hearing. And we also got the community to actually design a video, which we've got a video which is in BSL. It's also got audio on it, and it's also got subtitles, so it appeals to as many people as we can, to actually explain what the concerns process is. And that's actually been really, really well received and has been shared across Wales as well. To have the next slide, please. So we talked about feedback. We have lots of different ways of capturing feedback. As I say, some of these were pre-COVID, so you will see there that we used a lot of the Happy or Not machines. We have over 82,000. I think we were actually over 100,000 when we actually stopped. Because of COVID, we've had to take those out of use at the moment. And one of the things that we did was actually we look at the feedback, because if you take feedback, it's actually what's it telling you. And we actually had an article published around where we've actually used the feedback to actually say, well, what is it telling us? What are we doing about it? Is that actually giving us the same themes as our concerns are telling us? Do we need to ask our volunteers to go in and do some survey work? Do we need to find out a little bit more? And what we try to do is really triangulate all of the information that we have, just to make sure that we are really understanding the problems. I think we're all very good at going into solution mode with things. We often think we know the problem. Sometimes we actually have to make sure we really do understand what the issues are. And actually from a patient perspective, what things can we do that are actually going to make a difference? And I'm a great believer in you have to have a positive staff experience to have a positive patient experience as well. So we're really keen on actually how do we work all of those together, really. Could I have the next slide, please? Okay, this is some of our concerns team. Last year we dealt with 3,166 concerns. In Wales we call them concerns, when they're actually, they can be informal or formal complaints. We actually dealt with 590 last year under early resolution, so that's where we do them within 2 working days. That includes the day of receipt. Our current performance time for our 30 working day response times is at 90%, and it's something we have maintained above our Welsh Government target of 75%. And one of the things that we do is we will always contact people and we agree with them the questions for investigation. What I didn't want was our team to be a faceless part of the organisation. It takes a lot of courage to raise a concern. It's really important that we recognise it, that we make sure we listen to people, we make sure we really understand what questions it is they want us to answer. And that's something that the team have done really well. We also have a 7-day concerns team. So in March, we moved over to 7 days, and it's something that I'd always wanted to do, and COVID, I suppose, really accelerated that, and it's something we'll continue with because it's been so helpful. And we've actually found that less than 0.3% of our concerns from last year were actually referred to the Public Service Ombudsman. And it's actually about 0.5% of those actually went on for investigation. So I think this actually communicating with people, making sure they've got a clear point of contact, agreeing the questions for investigation, and has made sure that we are answering the things that they want us to, and that we haven't not misunderstood them, which I think is really, really important.